Hi guys, welcome to the O7 podcast that looks exclusively at the films of 2007. I'm Lucy and I am joined by my wonderful co-host Tay. How you doing, mate?
Whoop whoop. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool, good, great.
Shut it down.
Yeah, shut it down. Don't do feelings. None of that.
Yeah, it's just like...
Okay.
Yeah, didn't need this film, but I would say that we're waving this one through with good grace into the pantheon because I don't know that I like this film that much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a meh. It's not a standout Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
It's sort of like he had a sort of a thing he wanted to say, but he didn't really say it that well.
He definitely said it. There's no two ways about the sledgehammer subtlety with which he said the things. But you know, it's an okay film. All right, everyone, goodbye.
We haven't even said the name of the film yet.
Sorry, folks, we've been called back on to say it's the Darjeeling Limited. Anyway, goodbye.
You really didn't enjoy it?
We'll get into it. Wes Anderson's offering for 2007. Apparently the third in his Daddy Issues trilogy.
Oh.
But I read that online, so, you know, I think it's open to interpretation.
Daddy Issues. Don't we love him?
Yeah.
He clearly did. Made 3 films about them.
I mean, I'm sure there's more. Do you want to tell us about the Darjeeling Limited, Lucy?
The Darjeeling Limited is an American comedy drama, and it follows 3 estranged brothers on a train journey across India as they attempt a spiritual reconciliation trip after the death of their father. Stars Owen Wilson as Francis Whitman, Adrian Brody as Peter Whitman, Jason Schwartzman as Jack Whitman, and then we have a wonderful supporting cast of cameos and minor roles, including Angelica Houston, who plays their mum, Natalie Portman, and of course Bill Murray makes an appearance. We also need to give honourable mentions to the Asian cast members, so Waris Ahluwalia, Amara Karan, and Irfan Khan.
Yeah, no, I like this film. I just don't love it. Wes Anderson, for me, is one of the directors. With every one of his films, you can see sort of like iteratively how he has arrived at his style.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he established it quite early on, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think from Royal Tenenbaums onwards.
Yeah.
He's built on it with each film. They get more and more absurdist and fun and more mustard-coloured.
Yeah.
With every film. And this one isn't the start of that journey by any stretch, but you see it shining through, I think, in this one.
Yeah. I would say it's less Wes Anderson-y than some of his earlier films.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's like he was almost trying to make a semi-serious film in comparison to his earlier films. It does. I feel like it stands outside of the rest of his films because it's just not as Wesy, if you know what I mean. Don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah, I would. I think like Bottle Rocket and to a degree Rushmore, you couldn't pin the style of them onto any specific director, I don't think. But from there on out, everything in his films are a hallmark of him and his style and his intentions. And you're right. I think that the Darjeeling Limited is the least Wes Anderson feely kind of film if you think about what preceded it, so Steve Zissou and the Royal Tenenbaums. I wouldn't say it's a departure. I think all of those tricks and tropes are in there, but it's not wielded with the same intention. I always get a sense from Wes Anderson that he wants to make a love letter to something with his films, and he has done that here, I think. But the endeavour is much less silly, and it's much smaller, you know. So maybe he just didn't have time to make it as Wes Anderson-y as possible.
Yeah, or maybe he wanted to hold back for some sort of stylistic reason and let the story tell itself. I don't know.
I think we've peaked at Grand Budapest.
Grand Budapest is my favourite.
Me too. He clearly hadn't peaked because Finishing Scheme is really, really excellent as well. So he's all over the shop. He's keeping us guessing. That's fine. Make a shit one. I don't mind.
Are we saying that the Darjeeling Limited is the shit one?
No, it's not. It's just like the least. It's one of the lesser ones, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems to have more of a cult following, this
Mm-hmm.
one. A cult of Wes Anderson fans throughout, but ones who feel that this one is their standout favourite.
Oh, right.
What I've intuited from all of the stuff I've read about it is the production was really limited. Like they had to kind of really cram it in and make it quickly, and do all kinds of stuff in terms of space and time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is a better focus on a smaller family dynamic or a set of dynamics that really speak for it. And I think maybe that's what resonates with people, and they hold it a bit closer to their hearts and minds.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of resonance with the sibling relationship, and the older one being the bossy one, and the younger one's getting irritated by that. Did remind me of my brother and me. I didn't realize it had such a cult following in that way.
YouTube and Reddit would suggest that like people have gone back to it and like, this is way better than I remember.
Mm. Yeah, I had seen it years ago. I've probably seen it a few times since then. Because I had a big Wes Anderson fest when I was at uni.
Did that have a dress code, the Wes Anderson Fest?
No.
It was mustard, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, going back to what you were saying about the style that he's created, we obviously have the famous Instagram account called Accidentally Wes Anderson, which created its own book, and I feel like there was also an exhibition a few years ago. So that in itself has a cult following.
You can't fault Wes Anderson's colour theory. When I was distracted, I was watching this film, figuring out the dominant colours and then the second most dominant. And damn you, Wes.
Yeah.
Talking about internet stuff, I remember an account on Twitter before Twitter became what it is now, that would take a shot from any Wes Anderson film and then just map out the colour palette,
Ooh, nice.
which was really satisfying for a time when the internet was nice. And the other one that springs to mind was an X-Men pastiche. Because these sort of like classic X-Men outfits have got a lot of yellow in them and blue, contrasting blue. They are ripe for Wesifying. So some folks made a really funny Wesed up X-Men parody.
I'd like to see that.
Had that been made before any X-Men films had been made, then that would have been the look, I think. Then we wouldn't get this internet discourse from nerds. Wes Anderson should have directed the X-Men.
Oh, imagine.
Yeah.
That would literally be a cartoon brought to life.
It would be like the Saturday morning cartoon. There it is.
Tell me what you liked, and I'll tell you what I liked.
What I really liked was the texture of the brother characters and their relationships to one another. It was enough to be interesting and not sort of, not to take up too much time. They lay out a lot of like what this film is about and a lot of how they are to each other and what they are to each other very quickly. So very efficient sort of storytelling in that sense. It almost serves as a sort of sketch of their parents. Like their parents, for the most part of the film, are, silhouetted, right? And you almost get a sense of their presence when they were all alive, their presence or lack of it to those kids. So that was really nicely done. I like the way they framed the parents and then eventually bring a parent in. I liked all of the needle drops. This is not a quirky, plinky plonky Grand Budapest style soundtrack on here. It's soundtracked by Kink songs. And then songs that Jack has kind of he's carting around a freaking iPod.
Yeah, and the big Bose speaker. I said to my boyfriend, I was like, do you remember when everyone rich had those amazing Bose speakers where you plugged your iPod into the front? They were so cool. I still would like to have one. I think they look great.
Yeah, I loved all the Wes Anderson tropes. So, the colour palette, all of those 90 and 100 degree camera pans, and how they build on each shot every time the camera stops. There's more people in the frame, all of that malarkey, classic Wesification. I like how the film moves, how the camera moves, and I think like making the film on a train. I was surprised. I thought this was like mostly on a set, except for the exteriors. But actually, they did. They made most of this on an actual moving train. And I think that speaks to Wes Anderson's thing about having things moving, about his approach to blocking and making the action move along, physically move. Those two things knit well together, brilliantly. I loved all of that. It's so interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And having read up about it, it does feel like all of the actors, probably the whole cast and crew, but specifically the actors and the director, came out of the experience of making this film like they'd almost like a spiritual journey. Not quite that, but like that they'd felt like they'd gone through something and together. And I think you can see a bit of that in the film. I know that is literally the plot of the film, and not so subtle either.
Yeah.
But Adrian Brody talks about it so sort of like glowingly that you can't help but smile at that. And I think lastly, this is just another example of how Wes Anderson goes about making films. So being a fan, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Lucy? What do you like?
It's interesting you touch on the fact that the cast and crew had a sort of spiritual journey themselves, because I was actually thinking that I wondered if they remembered it fondly because they actually were out there in India, and they really it had that feel of sort of the neo-realist documentary style filmmaking where they were out in those villages with real people. They weren't actors, they were real villagers. And so, yes, of course, we were watching a film, but they really had to be there. They really had to be amongst the people and seeing that way of life that would have been so different to their way of life. And I thought, yeah, it's interesting because they can't have not come away from that feeling like they'd learned something and they'd experienced something. So it's heartwarming to know that Adrian Brody does look back on it fondly in that way. So that leads me on nicely to what I loved, which was the honouring of India and Indian filmmaking and the colour and texture of India. At one point, Adrian Brody even says, like, I love how this place smells. I'll never forget it. And it's that sort of visceral sense of a place that you get when you're somewhere completely different to what you know. I think, until they get out the laptops and iPods, this could have been sort of set at any point, and it has that kind of nostalgic warmth to it that the classic Bollywood films have when you look back at them now. A bit grainy, still really colourful. Even some of the way that the film is edited it's Wes Anderson style, but it sort of is a nod to the sort of classic Bollywood, almost sort of comical wipes and jump cuts, etc. And some of what you were talking about in terms of angles. I also loved the that kind of, again, nod to just classic Hollywood, where when they cut away to something important, it's just a static shot of a hand holding, I think it was the itinerary. Rather than it's sort of the camera glancing over it, which is much more modern. It's just literally just like that, like just like a aerial shot, just that, which I loved. What else did I love? I love the comedy. It is funny and it is silly. And it did make us laugh.
What kind of laugh though? Like, I don't think I laughed out loud. It was more a laughing to myself.
Oh yeah, it wasn't like belly laughs, kind of uncontrollable laughter, but it was fun.
The two brothers getting maced is kind of meme territory now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's been clipped up a million times. But it is funny. I think at that point in the film it's kind of needed. But it's not raucous.
No.
But it is enjoyable and pleasing.
Yeah, absolutely.
3 stars.
Jump ahead.
Sorry. What else did you like?
Adrian Brody wearing their dad's old sunglasses, but they're prescription lenses. So every time he wants to actually look at something, he has to lift them up. Really great. Lovely little touch. Anything you didn't like?
Now, this is quite a common complaint, I think, but the symbolism and the metaphors in this film are, you really do get clobbered with them. This is not a subtle movie. Throwing away that baggage with your dead dad's initials on it, Whew. Okay. There's some heavy lifting going on there.
Yeah.
You know, the train as a sort of metaphor for spiritually getting from A to B, or even just going on a journey, you know. They literally lay out that they're going on a spiritual journey at the start of the film.
Yeah.
All of that stuff it's not bad, but like, to be kind, I would just say it's efficient.
Yeah.
It's telling you what you need to know and giving you enough subtext to kind of work with. But my God, you know, it's like he's not chancing anything there. He's not kind of letting us fill in the blanks. It's like it's barely subtext really. And I guess like the one thing, and this is a criticism of most of his films, I think, is that I rarely feel for anyone in them. I'm entertained by them, or not really horrified. I'm entertained by the characters in his films. I think the only one I ever felt for or rooted for was Saoirse Ronan's character in Grand Budapest. You know, her kind of relationship with Zero is really lovely. Like you can get into that. And I think
interesting.
But that's the exception, because there are so many characters, like such a vast cast of characters. And I think maybe this is part of the problem, is that how do you build any rapport with a single person? It's like a dervish of people with stories and quirks and jokes and texture, and you know, it's like it's hard to keep up and latch on to any one character.
Interesting, you're right.
But that's a very, very minor criticism. Like,
yeah,
you know.
A lot of his characters are not like that likable, really. They're all a bit, you know, annoying or flawed or troublesome. Aren't we all though?
I guess he's not really making those kinds of films where you feel like you need to emotionally invest in a character.
No.
But there's a lot of like love in his films, and I don't know that you feel that. You see it.
My query, and I didn't dislike it because, as I said, I think they honoured India and they, you know, brought it to life, and it was beautiful, and we really got a taste of, you know, particularly like northern Indian life. But I do wonder if it's sort of in and of its time, because it felt like around that time there was such an obsession with India. Like 2008, Slumdog Millionaire, Pussycat Dolls, did Jai Ho. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of all around that time where we just in the West seemed to be obsessed with Bollywood.
Yeah. And Aishwarya Rai was in mainstream films.
Exactly. And, you know, fair enough, like good that we are representing India and doing it well in this sense. I mean, obviously there is some criticism of, I think the film critiques the idea of going to India on a spiritual journey, like it's going to answer all of their problems, and India just in and of itself is spiritual, which obviously is kind of, I actually wrote that in my notes, it's just like three depressed American dudes trying to find themselves in India.
Whilst heavily medicated.
Exactly. But I do wonder if, like, it would be made in that way today, whether it would be deemed like inappropriate, or that just using India as a backdrop of spiritualism and spirituality is kind of a bit like hackneyed. So yeah, I just think it, like I said, it's in and of its time. We seem to be obsessed with that look and feel and sound at the time.
Yeah, but I think Wes Anderson was reflecting that a little bit. Like you say, like they lay it out immediately at the start of the film, and they're bad at it. And the backstory is that they all came away from India kind of loving it. Bill Murray was shooting for 3 days and he stayed for a month. I think they enjoyed the absorbing all of the environment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think Wes Anderson was very aware of that kind of trope and wanted to play on it a little bit. And then he kind of like the film falls into that trap a little bit as well.
Yeah,
right?
It does.
I want to give him the credit and say that I think he knew that was what was happening and he was fine with that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, I guess it kind of begs the question, like, can you poke fun at, pick holes in an idea without sort of embodying it anyway whilst you're doing it?
So it didn't sound like you disliked much.
No, I mean it's fine, isn't it? It's just a nice film to kind of just have on. It's just nice, isn't it? It's just fun. It's like unobtrusive. It's not trying to like say anything deep to really. Like it says it in the first 5 minutes of the film and kind of just carries on from there, as you say. And it's not challenging, but it is fun and entertaining, and it is beautiful.
Yeah.
If you enjoy watching a film to look at how it's made, this is a great one for it, as are all of his films.
Yeah.
There was one point where I was like, oh, look at the way his face is lit. It's where Jack's hanging out of the train in the darkness, smoking, and then he looks over and he can see the hostess also smoking. She's called Rita. She's also smoking, but oh my gosh, the way he's lit, his face is just glowing against the sort of midnighty, inky blue sky. It's just beautiful.
So that was there was a lot of practical light happening there. That was a real challenge because they couldn't build rigs like longer than a meter outside of the train. And so Robert Yeoman, the DOP, he had a bit of a challenge with this film, especially that on the train stuff, where like how you hide lights into places where they feel natural, but they also do the job. And I think like the exteriors of the train, lighting that stuff was probably even more challenging. So yeah, given the limitations, pretty impressive.
They smashed it.
Yep.
I hadn't realised it was actually filmed on a moving train. That is really remarkable. I clearly didn't do enough research.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
Like, why? Why did he do that?
Wes Anderson went to India, had that experience of like being blown away by India. And he wanted to recreate some of that in his depiction of it.
Right.
And he loves trains also.
Oh, okay.
And so I imagine that the challenge of making a film on a train had been something, needling him for a little while.
I see.
Saw an opportunity.
Yeah.
They had to source, 10 train carriages and a locomotive to pull them. They'd shoot in both directions. If the light was giving them too much hassle on one side, they'd flip to the other side.
That's amazing.
The entire cast and crew are on the train, on the moving train. So everyone is on site. Like Wes Anderson talks about it as being challenging, but also like really efficient because everybody's there. There's no one's in a trailer.
Yeah, you can't wander off.
Everything is on hand or close by. So a lot of production limitations, but also a lot of bonuses from having given yourself such creative restraints.
Yeah.
I know, I couldn't believe it either. I thought, this is all sets.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Again, would they do that now? Film company would say absolutely not. Do it in a studio. Save money. Do it on CGI. Green screen. Although it's Wes Anderson, he likes to actually make films, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a textural guy. Yeah. He's practical. It's probably the reason why the film cost like $17 million or something. Is because they made it in India and they actually just sourced the components of a whole ass train to make the film.
Amazing.
Lucy, what else you got?
So for the fashion heads amongst our listeners, the signature suitcases in the film were custom designed by Marc Jacobs with illustrations by Eric Chase Anderson. Decades later, Louis Vuitton reissued a version in 2026. Pretty cool. That's actually this year.
That fact has just been born. Still got stuff all over it.
The Darjeeling Limited safari luggage comes to life at Louis Vuitton. A cinematic signature aesthetic is now available for purchase.
I'm not going to buy that luggage.
No.
They throw it away. It's not hardly an endorsement.
It's quite iconic, though.
It's the baddie of the film.
It's the baddie. Oh, because it's the...
Emotional baggage.
Exactly. That's what I was doing.
Oh, sorry.
Quirky fun fact. The film was preceded by a short prologue called Hotel Chevalier.
Yeah, have you watched
featuring
it?
Jason Schwartzman and Natalie Portman, released at festivals before Darjeeling. No, I haven't seen it.
It's fine.
It's fine.
You know the short story at the end of the film that Jack is reading out, Jason Schwartzman? It's basically that. So the dialogue that he's reading out is the dialogue from Hotel Chevalier.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's, one fact that came out of that short film, Jack is barefoot in the hotel room.
He's always barefoot in this film.
And yeah, that was a decision off the back of having made the short film. Was, well, let's keep him barefoot through the whole thing.
What does it mean?
Don't know.
Oh, helpful.
Doesn't get his shoes stolen.
Yeah, because
Get him! I just want to randomly say that next time I get stolen to no one. I just want to say, get him! I can't help but wonder if that was a nod to Bill Murray in Ghostbusters.
Oh,
Get her!
yeah. Oh, maybe.
I don't know. I doubt it.
Never know.
But I'm gonna happily think that. So there's some inspirations for this film. Wes Anderson was inspired by a few things, including The River from 1951, directed by Jean Renoir, and documentaries about India from Satyajit Ray, and a bit of Cassavetes thrown in for good measure. He's a walking notebook of film references.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the film in 2026? What's it like watching this in 2026? Does it hit different?
No, because the thing with Wes Anderson films, I said earlier that they all have that really nostalgic, timeless feel. They could be set anywhere at any time. Until you see a piece of modern technology, you think it could be set in the 70s, for instance, with this film. So they're sort of standalone and outside of time, aside from what we were talking about with the sort of obsession with India at the time, in Western zeitgeist. So no, I don't think it hits different. I think it was probably a bit ahead of its time in the sense of it really talking about men talking about their feelings, and trying to, deal with their childhood trauma and work through it together. Thought that was great, and quite ahead of its time. I think we'd see more of that now, but I think it was ahead of its time.
Yeah, I think it does hit different for me,
because
so many good Wes Anderson films have come out since then. And it's hard not to compare in terms of just achievement. Now, I started this episode saying that this one was, like a bit of a dip. It's still really great. But unfortunately for Mr. Anderson, there's been loads of great Wes Anderson films that have come out after that. Just ahead of going into this film, I was thinking about the quirk journey for Wes Anderson. Thinking the Wes Anderson films of now started at Moonrise Kingdom. And I actually think that's absolute bollocks. I watched this and you see it and you can go back and watch previous films. It's all there.
Yeah.
I kind of said as much at the start. But unfortunately, once you've reached the heights and you go back to a film like The Darjeeling Limited, it does take the edge off it a little bit. And so in that way alone, it does hit a little bit different in 26. But it's still a fun watch, worth revisiting.
Definitely.
I guess that brings us to ratings.
Yes, it does.
All right, Lucy. Well, I already said what I'm going to give it. 3 stars. Where are you at?
I think I might give it 2.5.
Oof.
Oh, it does seem a bit mean, doesn't it? Maybe I'll give it 3. I feel like I'm sitting on the fence a lot, but it's not 5. It's not 4. It's not 2, though, so it's got to be 3. I'm going to give it 3.
All right. Lucy, it feels like we've done it. Can we agree to that?
Yes.
Thanks for bearing with us, folks, while we revisited the Darjeeling Limited. It turns out it's every bit as good as it was in 2007.
That is really nice, but it contradicts what you started with, but fair. Fine.
No, you could read that both ways, couldn't you?
Oh, you could.
You could be like, oh yeah, but I didn't like it in 2007. Exactly. Yeah. All right, we did it, folks. Speak to you next time. Have a good one.
Bye.